Good evening. We have a slight delay on Ghostlight because of two reasons. One, because it's that 2 weeks of the year when we just have snooker on the telly constantly, which my kids love. And secondly, because Libby's a bit scared. But don't tell her I told you. But all is not lost because I have finished a book. There we go. This is the book I've finished. Hold it for the thumbnail. So as I made reference to the other day, I've had a bit of a rough time of it, and in and out of hospital. Everything's okay now. So I was reading all sorts of bits about it, and I've been reading a load of manga for school. And then as the week progressed, couple of weeks, 3 weeks, just kind of my reading deteriorated until it had to be Doctor Who, which is the only thing to keep me going. And I was up to my 7th Doctor story, even though we've not finished the 7th Doctor. I thought stuff out of these stories well enough. So I have read this, Loving the Alien by Mike Tucker and Robert Perry. Now, can't even remember where I got this book. Genuinely, it's just on my shelf. And I can only assume that I bought it at whatever point, in whatever context. There's no price in it or anything. Because it's a Bowie reference, Loving the Alien, marvellous song. So, here's the overall message of this book for me. A long time ago, I got into a programme called Doctor Who when my new friend Paul told me about this weird programme in the playground at Birdsbush Primary School. And it's glorious when you get into something and it already exists. Bands, music is the most notable thing because, like with when we got to Dylan or Costello or The Fall, you find a song or a record you like and you go, oh, this is good. And then you suddenly realise you've got like 1,000 other records to listen to. And it's a glorious thing, and it happens increasingly less, I think, as you get older. Because you've got much more experience of the world and of the things you like and whatever else like that. So it's a wonderful thing to drop into something you like with a passion and then explore it. But when I got into Doctor Who when I was young, loads of it was already there. And being the sort of person that I am, being dropped into the middle of that and just being able to explore and find things and make connections and having the glory of not understanding and then understanding, that's a great, great thing. Anyway. So I'm reading this book, a Doctor and Companion team that I know as well as any other Doctor and Companion team. Very nicely written, I have to say. We've always got that thing with Ace stories that take place after survival where there are so many different Aces and there are so many different takes on the character. The Virgin New Adventures went very hard in one particular direction. This book has an Ace that's growing up, is a little bit more mature, but it's still undeniably the Sophie Aldred performance that, you know, meant that she became one of the most beloved companions of all time. What's absolutely smashing about this book, though, is, as I recognised a part of the way through, it has a lore all of its own. So this is a sort of sequel to a book, I think, called Illegal Alien, something like that, and that is actually quite expensive to buy now, irritatingly. It was re-released a few years back, and I could have got it then, had I known. But the thing is, it's got a new baddie in, and this baddie's called George Lim, and I knew nothing about George Lim, but George Lim is a proper good Doctor Who baddie, and he's quite a unique Doctor Who baddie, in so much as, to all extent and purposes, he's just a very, very evil man. Very, very clever, but at this point in the Doctor's life, he doesn't normally fear humans. Do you know what I mean? He's wary of them, and sometimes, you know, it's not as if he's sometimes he's patronising, but I can't think of any human baddie that really threatens McCoy. No, not in the programme. I don't think so anyway. But the thing is about George Lim, he properly frightens McCoy. And the thing that frightens him, I think, is that he can't understand the callousness of this character. He can't connect with just how rotten he is. And it bothers the Doctor. And that's brilliant for McCoy because, obviously, he comes across a lot of the time as this all-conquering manipulator, puppet master, whatever. And in this, you feel like he's met his match, not because it's something of an equal stature in the universe, but just because he's such a bastard. And it's really good. And I know nothing about this character. And he rocks up. And it's like, when you get into Doctor Who, you know, I'm not putting these on the same pedestal of importance, but when you first met the Master, and you went, oh, where does this Master story fit with everything else? And all of a sudden, it was brilliant when I was reading this book, because I felt in the dark. I didn't quite know what was going on. I didn't know the history. I didn't know the lore. And it was such a nice experience, because I'm not used to knowing everything about Doctor Who. I'm not used to being able to... I'm the person in my social sphere that people come to ask me, well, how does that connect to that? And what's that all about? So to be on the back foot for a little bit was a glorious thing. As a overall understanding what the book's about, the Doctor... The premise of the book is the Doctor's got Ace's body hidden away in the TARDIS, and he knows that there's some sort of trap being laid for him, which is a nice take on this Doctor as well. And eventually, after some faffing about, he decides to face this trap head on, which is a stupid move, Silver. I don't know what you're doing. Lands in 1950s London to take on whatever it is that's going to try and collate and sort it out. No spoilers, but that doesn't go quite as he planned, perhaps as time planned. But the story sort of weaves in characters that had appeared in previous books. There's a sense of a wider continuity, not just with this George Lynn, but with just generally a sense of things, a sort of little timeline that's appeared in the novels that I don't fully understand, but that doesn't matter because the book works on its own. And it's exceptionally evocative, right? It's a bit Remembrance of the Dalek Sea, in so much as it's a period of social history that I kind of feel I'm au fait with, you know. It's the sort of time that my parents were born, just after my parents were born. And so I've got a sort of a sense of that. And the Doctor and Sylve being there, it just works, you know. I really like the Doctor being in near enough contemporary, you know, just slightly in the past. I think that's a really good fit. And then we get this story that weaves in all sorts of different strands. It's got a sort of alternate timeline groove going on. There's rockets and I don't want to say too much because I think this is a good book. I think you should read it. It's nicely split into 4 parts as well to evoke a 4-part story, although it's rammed. There's no way you'd do this on the television. And it's a really fine book. Now, if I was to have any critique, there's maybe one strand too many. There's a character called Rita who gets shunted somewhere else. And although that really works, it just felt like an extra layer that's too far. There's a detective called Cody McBride who I really, really like. You could well have seen him being a Sablon Glitz type recurring character in Sylve's era. And I really enjoyed his presence within the book. The last quarter of the book, I'll level with you, gets a little bit overloaded for me. And although there's some fantastic images within it, it just, I did feel a bit, whoa. You know, what I liked was the sort of like the more taut, the tension in the relationship between the Doctor and Ace, them both investigating their own thing. And when it did end up at the big set piecey ending, you know, best will in the world, it didn't quite cohere as well as the early part of the book did, but that's small beans. The other thing I would say is I found the resolution. You see, this is the problem with Ace as a character in the spin-off literature. I found the resolution to the essential dilemma surrounding Ace's character, you know, the body being found. It didn't quite square it for me. I almost felt it got sort of like shuffled under the rug a little bit, but that's the issue with Ace, isn't it? You know, I mean, the series, even Chibnall didn't quite fully, you know, square off that character. I'm not entirely sure what the programme now thinks happened to Ace, but that's by the by. That's okay. So anyway, yeah, listen. Oh, one other thing to say. This does a very good job of evoking Sylve and Sophie. I keep saying it. They're the best team. I genuinely feel it, and it's. I know I'm in a small band of people to feel that, and that's fine. That's what Doctor Who should be like. But I just don't see how you compare to those two. Just the dynamic of their relationship, the fact it's like a bit spiky, the fact that the Doctor, Libby keeps saying, and it's a take on Sylve that I've never really appreciated, there's nothing creepy about his relationship with Ace. Do you know what I mean? And with the best friend in the world, and please don't think I'm slagging. I don't slag off the Doctors. Well, I do sometimes, but you know what I mean. But there's moments with Pertwee and Joe that just feel a bit whatever. And there's moments with, I don't know, Tom and Leela, where with the best friend in the world, it's like doesn't quite square. I don't know. But there's no Sylve. It's just, he swings from being the most powerful being in the universe to being the most avuncular, lovely fellow. It's somebody who's, putting Ace through the absolute ringer, but hating himself more and more for doing it. It doesn't justify it, but, there we go. Anyway, good book. A good book. It's helped me out recently. I've appreciated this book, and it's been... it does what good Doctor Who does. It makes life better, especially when you need it. I will convince her to watch Ghostlight soon. I think it's going to be a sunny day, though.